host bits as 0, okay, this in binary, this is the network address. And after that, when you are using all of the host bits as 1, this is the directed broadcast address. Now you can better understand that how many host addresses we have on, for example, class A, class B, and class C. And you know that this amount of value in class A is so, for example, huge for a network. In each network, we don't have, for example, this amount of hosts. And what is the usage of this huge number of IP address? Also, in class B, we have many IP address, and in most cases, you don't need this amount of IP address. If you want to use this class B network, you will waste IP addresses. I waste IP addresses. I will show you. And in class C, maybe we have sufficient, or for example, a small range of IP addresses. This means that the classes ranges, okay, are not efficient for today networks. I will show you some examples to better understanding this feature. But for now, let me to using one result for the information you saw in this video. And that is, when you are using all of the host bits as 0, this is the network address. When you are using all of the host bits as 1, this is the broadcast address. And we can't assign the network address or broadcast address to the hosts. We can use the network address for routing, and we can use the direct broadcast address when we need to send traffic to all of the systems in one network, as I mentioned before. But we can't assign them to the PCs, okay, because they have another usage. Also, now we know that the class A, class B, and class C capacity of the host. Now we can better understand the inefficiency of the class A and B and C. Let me to give you some example. Before talking about the inefficiency of the classful IP addressing, let me to solve one example. In this example, we can review the topics we learned about the classes of IP addresses. Look at here. In this example, we have some IP address, 7 IP address, and also we need to find the classes of these IP addresses. After that, the network octet, host octet, okay, and the network ID, and finally the broadcast address. Let me to solve this scenario. First, quad 2. Quad 2 is residing in class A. You know it. Why? Because 2 between 0 to 127. Let me to write here class A. Okay, this is the class A, 0 to 127. And after that, class B between the 128 to 191. After that, class, for example, C between 192 to 223. That's it. Because 2 between the 0 to 127, this is class A. Also 130 between the 128 and 191. Because of that, this is class B IP address. 195 is residing in class C, as you can see. Let me to write here C. After that, 192, again this is in range of the class C. Let me use class C. Then 223, also this is the class C IP address. And after that, 10111, this is the class A IP address. After that, 172, this is in range of class B. Let me to write here class B. That's it. This is the first field. Which class? After that, network octet. You know that in the class A here, we can write here in class A, we have 1 octet for network and 3 octet for hosts. Because of that, if you want to find the network octet in this address, you can use only the first octet, because this is the class A IP address. Let me to write here, we have 1 network octet and also 3 host octet, you know it, okay? And after that, in class B, we have 2 network octet and also 2 host octet. In class C, again, we have 3 network octet and also 1 host octet. Again, class C, 3 network octet and 1 host octet. Okay. After that, 223 class C, 3 network octet, 1 host octet. Okay. And after that, class A, 1 network octet and 3 host octet. Okay. And finally, class B, again 2 network octet and after that 2 host octet. This is the field 2 and field 3 network octet and host octet. After that, we need to find the network ID. You know that the network ID means we need to, for example, use all of the host bits as a 0. For example, for quad 2, because in quad 2 we have only 1 network octet and we need to use 0 for all of the host octets, okay, or all of the host bits. Here we can say the network ID is 2.0.0.0. Why? As you know, the octet 2, octet 3 and octet 4 are the host octet. Because of that, we can use, instead of all of these octets, 0, all of these bits 0, and this is the network ID. For finding the broadcast address, we need to use in host octet or in host bits the 1. Because of that, 255.255.255 is the broadcast address in this thing, and this is one of the IP addresses for host. The first IP address is network ID, the last IP address is broadcast address, okay, or directed broadcast address, okay, and between them are the host addresses. Let me to talk about the second example, IP address 130.124.1. You know that this is the class B IP address. Because of that, as you can see here, we have the network part or network ID 130.1, 130.1, then .0.0. This is the network ID. I used instead of the host bits 0. Because of that, now we have the network ID, and for broadcast address we can use 130 again, 255.255. I used all of the host bits 1. Okay, then in the 195.158, this is the class C IP address and the host bits are the last octet. Because of that, we can say the 195.1.5.0 is the network ID or network address. And after that, the broadcast address is, for example, 195.15255. Look at here. In one IP address, okay, we have 2 parts. Network ID or network address, okay, and then for example, host ID. When you are using the host ID of 0, you will have the network address, okay, and when you are using the host address as 1, you have the broadcast address. For example, in this example, as you can see, 195.15.0 is the network address or network ID, okay. After that, we have the broadcast address that I used instead of all of the host bits 1. After that, again, we have another class C IP address 192.0.0, then 0. This is the network ID or network address. And here we have 192.0.0.255 as the broadcast address. The next example again is coming from the class C. 223.3.2.0 is the network address or network ID, and after that 223.3.2.255 is the broadcast address. After that, 10.1.1, this is the class A address. 10.0.0.0 is the network ID, and 10.255.255.255 is the broadcast address. After that, we have one class B address. 172.16 is the network ID, and we can use 00 for the network address. After that, 172.16.255.255 for broadcast address. Look at here, because we are calling the first part of the address network ID, okay, and the second part of the host of the address host ID. It's better to use the network address, okay, when we are using all of the host bits as 0, for example 10.0.0.0. And the next address is broadcast address. Look at here, broadcast address. And here we can say 10.255.255.255. This is network address. This is broadcast address. But in the IP address, we can say network ID, host ID. In most cases, we say network address, not network ID, but both of them are same. We don't have any, for example, any problem to using network ID or network address. Both of them are same. It's better to using network address when you are using all of the host bits as 0, and broadcast address when you are using all of the host bits as 1. Okay, this is better. If you want, you can say network ID. We don't have any problem. Very good. This is only one example. Now I'm going to talk about some of the problems of the IP address classes. Look at here. You know that in the first days of the networks, okay, we use class A, class B, and C, and D, and E. This means that we had some rules about the addressing class A or B and C, for example, okay? But this is not efficient. I will show you why this is not efficient for us. But for now, let me to say that in those days, okay, we use these rules, but in today's we don't use the classes rules. I will talk about that. Because of that, we call those days classful days or classful networks. This means that the networks that are, for example, that are using the rules of the classes. But today we have another type of networks. We call them classless networks. You will learn about the classless networks in this video and also in future videos. But for now, let me to say that classful networks are the networks that are using the rules of the classes. Classless networks means in these networks we don't need to the rules of the classes, and also we don't use the rules of the class of IP addressing. Let me to talk about this. Don't worry, this is only the first time that I'm going to use the term of classless and classful. You will learn about this. But before starting to conversation about the classless